We all know that there needs to be massive change to this country. We are running in a multi-billion-dollar deficit year over year. We're not producing more jobs. We're not building more homes. We're not selling our resources the way that we should be. The Liberals, they can lie all they want right now, but I see through it. Likely you see through it. Pierre Poilievre sees through it. And that's why Pierre is offering these incredible solutions. Not only will Alberta be a powerhouse for oil and gas, but he also really wants to step it up for British Columbia. And that's the jaw-dropping announcement that he made, is that he wants to double down on the oil and gas sector in British Columbia so that we can really bring a powerhouse not only to this province, but also increase just our global standing for the entire country. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. There have been an incredible amount of policies that Pierre Poilievre has committed or pledged should he win this election. And out of all of the ones that he's put forward, the TFSA, old age securities, and things like that, tax-free up to $35,000 or $38,000, tax-free gains or tax-free money that seniors can make. There's been an incredible amount, but because I live in British Columbia, I probably have a major bias, and I'm super pro oil and gas in Alberta and for our country, but specifically here in BC, because this is where I live, and I would love to see more jobs created here. I want my province to thrive, and so this is on the top. This is the top of the list, top 5 policy announcements that Pierre Poilievre has pledged for. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do, and without further ado, let's get right into it.
LNG Canada, $40 billion of investment brought to this region because of his leadership, with First Nations being the primary beneficiaries. I need Ellis Ross on Parliament Hill helping me land more $40 billion LNG plants for our people nationwide on all the coasts. And I can't wait to bring the incredible riches to the Haisla, the Kitsala, the Niska, the Squamish, and countless other coastal First Nations who want to build LNG export terminals. They know that Prime Minister Harper was right to approve LNG Canada. They know that that project could only have happened without C-69, the anti-development liberal law that Mark Carney wants to keep in place. But speaking of economic matters, we are all watching the stock market with interest today. We have to acknowledge that this chaos is the direct result of wrong-headed, unnecessary, chaotic policies coming from President Trump. These tariffs are a massive distraction, and they remind us why it was such a mistake for the Liberals to make us so dependent on the Americans over the lost Liberal decade. Now, obviously, Mark Carney will be trotting out his trophy titles and the inflated hype around his false resume claims on this day. But let's be clear, at this time, the last thing we need is to take a risk on the failed ideas of Mark Carney. Mark Carney has been wrong about every major economic issue of our time. He was wrong to support carbon taxes. He was wrong to oppose pipelines. He was wrong 4 years ago when he said the biggest risk to the world was deflation and proposed hundreds of billions of dollars of money printing. He was wrong when he caused the inflation crisis in Great Britain and the housing crisis in that country. He's been universally condemned by the British media, even though back here in Canada, the media covers up his failed record and his terrible reputation in the United Kingdom. We cannot afford a fourth Liberal term of Mark Carney driving up spending, money printing, taxes, and inflation while blocking our resource projects. We cannot afford that risk. We need a new Conservative government for a change that will axe taxes, greenlight construction of homes, mines, pipelines, LNG plants, bring home our jobs, so that we can reinforce our economic fortress against the Americans. In the short term, My government has already proposed an immediate response to help our seniors. We've proposed to delay by 2 years the time when seniors must withdraw their savings from their RSP and be taxed on it. This 2-year delay will save many seniors from being forced to crystallize losses they're experiencing on the stock market today. We know that seniors should not pay the price for Donald Trump's economic vandalism over the last several days, and that is why we will allow our seniors to keep their money invested until they regain their lost amounts. We've also announced that we will allow seniors who choose to work to earn up to $34,000 tax-free.
Sweet.
That's $10,000 more than right now.
That's huge.
Je veux dire premièrement quelques mots à propos.
That's huge, man. Seniors should absolutely be voting for Pierre Poilievre. Like, that is going to help out so many people. I've already talked to some old people in my town about that. And it's just such a phenomenal policy. Pierre's checking a lot of great boxes for young people, for old people, for investing in Canada. I mean, he's just crushing it. Absolutely crushing it. He understands how people are struggling and what people need. And it's phenomenal. It's what we need right now in a leader. All we can hope for is a majority government, which is why it's so important to share videos like this, to like and subscribe, to get out and vote and educate people on what's going on. Post on your Facebook, share to your friends and family what policies you like about the Conservatives, what policies you like that Pierre's put forward, and how it's going to benefit people, because that's really what's going to hit home. People are going to be voting with their wallets. And I mean, so far, if you're just looking objectively at voting with your wallet, Pierre knocks it out of the park. 100%.
There's no reason why we as Canadians cannot be the richest country in the world. We have the most resources, the most land, the most coastline per capita, pretty much any other country on earth. Well, there is one reason we're not the richest in the world. It's the lost Liberal decade. They've hiked taxes on investment, energy, work, home building, and of course they've passed C-69, the anti-development law that Mark Carney says he wants to keep in place. They have also capped our energy production. As soon as Justin Trudeau and his economic advisor Mark Carney got their hands on Canada's resource policy, they began blocking projects. They blocked $178 billion of resource projects in the last decade. Mr. Carney has said, and I quote, "More than 80% of current fossil fuel reserves would need to stay in the ground." End quote. Unfortunately, this is the one promise that the Liberals have not broken. They brought in an industrial carbon tax and C-69, the no pipelines, no development law, and they've capped energy production in Canada. Mr. Carney says he wants to keep all those three policies in place. The Liberal war on Canada's resource economy has been devastating, just as the Liberals intended. Between 2015 and 2020, they killed 16 monster resource projects amounting to over $170 billion of lost investment in our economy. It now takes 17 years to get a project in mining approved, nearly 25% longer than in Australia and 40% longer in the States. This was by design. Liberals don't like these projects. Their radical environmental ideology prevents it from happening. We should be selling our resources to the world, breaking dependence on Putin and other foreign dictators, and going around the Americans. Canadian oil and clean natural gas should be displacing coal and reducing emissions worldwide by allowing India and other Asian countries to use our gas instead of dirty coal. But now we export 98% of our energy to the Americans at massive price discounts. That puts us at the tender mercies of Donald Trump and the Americans. I should point out, we are selling natural gas for $4 per British thermal unit to the Americans. It goes for $15 in Europe. So we're selling something for $4 that we could be getting $15 for, but for the fact that we don't have any export terminals that can move the gas overseas. All of them blocked by the Liberals. Only one is nearing completion, and that is LNG Canada here in this region, over in Kitimat, and that was a project approved by the previous Conservative government, and only could have happened with an industrial carbon tax exemption and by approval under the previous pre-C69 rules. Today, with the industrial carbon tax, the Liberal industrial carbon tax, the Liberal energy cap, and the Liberal law C69, that project never would have happened. The Conservative Party is going to reverse the Liberal agenda of blocking and keeping in the ground our resources. Today, I'm rolling out the next phase of our Canadian economic plan. I call it one and done. This rule will cut through red tape and get projects done quickly. Build fast, bringing jobs and paychecks home. This is what one and done means. First, we will establish a one-stop shop. One desk called the Rapid Resource Project Office will handle all regulatory approvals across all levels of government, so businesses don't have to waste time navigating through dozens of different agencies at 3 different levels of government. We will do this in partnership with provinces, First Nations, and municipalities, getting them to sign on to merging together their various processes. We will get rid of the double process right now where you have to do the exact same environmental review 3 different times for 3 different levels of government. We'll merge them together, one and done. Next, we will end duplication so there is only one application and review, ensuring efficiency without sacrificing standards. It's not about reducing our environmental or public safety protections. It's about merging them into one simplified step instead of overlapping processes. We did this during the great global recession of 08-09. Stephen Harper said we want 1-page application for municipal infrastructure, 1 environmental review. And guess what? We completed 23,500 projects from concept to completion in under 2 years, and the Environment Commissioner could not find a single problem with any of them affecting our ecology or our nature. So it can be done fast and safe.
Canada has such high standards, and oftentimes we have paralysis through analysis, where we spend so much time and money on figuring out the best standards, the best way to do it, and by that time we've already blown through hundreds of millions, or oftentimes under Liberals, billions of dollars on literally just analysis work without even putting shovels in the ground or whatever it is, right? But with the Conservatives, like what Pierre just said, that they've been able to blow past all of the standards and still get the jobs done, that's phenomenal. We need that type of powerhouse movement right now. Something that's actually kind of good about Canada is the fact that we do have high standards for a lot of things. But under Liberals, they find weird ways to basically just hire their friends or their family, or oftentimes their own businesses, numbered accounts, and they just issue contract work through, analysis of scouting out and looking at stuff, and it ends up going through lots of our budgets. And then that's like what happened with the Arrive scam, right? It didn't cost $64 million to actually build the app. It wasn't a bunch of people that were typing and doing code for that much amount of money. It was people that were consulting for $1,000 an hour or $5,000 an hour, like insane fees. And the Conservatives don't play around when it comes to that. So that's one very big thing that is super positive about a Conservative government, is they don't funnel money. There's none of that sketchiness. They just get the job done. And we desperately need that right now. Desperately need that. The biggest delays for energy projects is just getting them approved, right? It can take 6 years for it to get approved and 2 years to build. So again, you're talking about the contracting work with the Liberals of waiting for the approval and sending more people in for fees, $1,000 an hour for consultations and all this and that, and all this red tape. And all of a sudden now you're at almost the 6-year mark, and oh, there's a new environmental standard, so we're going to have to pass it or push it further another 2 or 3 years until we meet that new environmental standard, right? So it's literally called paralysis through analysis. Liberals are so good at doing that, and it costs us so much money. Pays to be a liberal, though. You get rich in the process, but nothing ever happens for our country.
3, I will guarantee decisions on major projects within a maximum of 1 year, but the target will be 6 months or sooner. No more delays, no more uncertainty, no more caps on Canadian growth and ambition.
Yeah, he just wants to plow through all the red tape and just literally unleash just a super pro-building economy where we don't have the level of bureaucracy that we do right now or the red tape. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Carney and his team of Liberals have forgotten you, the people who want to work and create opportunities. They have anti-development laws like C-69, the industrial carbon tax, and the energy cap that will make sure no projects ever go ahead. That is why we cannot trust the Liberals to a 4th term in power. They have the same Liberal MPs, same Liberal advisors, same failed Liberal policies, same broken promises. Mark Carney is not real change. He is doubling down on the same lost Liberal decade from which we now need to escape with real change. The single most powerful thing we can do to break our dependence on the Americans and bring jobs and dollars home would be to rapidly expand our energy production and exports. But Mark Carney has said he wants to keep the industrial carbon tax, keep C-69, the no development law, keep the resource and energy cap. And get this, just a couple of days ago, after the Liberals saw my commitment to get LNG Canada Phase 2 built, they rushed out Minister Wilkinson to tell you that, surprise, now they've changed their position on that too. Except it comes with a big fast asterisk. The minister says, and I quote, "We'd like to see a positive decision, but the project would have to fit within the government's climate architecture." Their climate architecture. That is code for saying the project will never happen. Furthermore, the company who is investing in this project says they cannot do it with the energy cap, C-69, or the industrial carbon tax. So in other words, it would be impossible to complete LNG Canada if the Liberals stay in power, no matter what deathbed conversions or last-minute promises they now try to make. The Liberals are going to continue with the same failed approach. A resume is not a plan, nor is continuing with the same policies Mr. Carney advised Trudeau to take over the last 5 years. The last Conservative government, of which I was a part, had an economic action plan to grow the economy and make it less reliant on America. That's why Stephen Harper approved LNG Canada before the Liberals took office. And that's why I'm announcing today that I'm approving Phase 2 of LNG Canada. It will go ahead if I am elected, and we will make sure that it will be jobs for local people, including the great Haisla workers with whom our friend Ellis Ross has been working. We will also tap into the rich mining potential of northern BC to start economic boom for the region in gold, silver, copper, critical minerals, and increased refining and exporting capacity. We will learn from the success of LNG Canada on how we can get things built with First Nations and ensure that they enjoy prosperity. I will even allow the companies who build this project to pay a share of their federal corporate taxes directly to the First Nations in the area, creating own source revenue that will build schools, clean drinking water systems, hospitals, and other wonderful opportunities for the young people. This is on top of other projects that we will improve right across the country. In today's press release, you'll see that I've listed 10 projects that are trapped in the Liberal system waiting for an approval. I will rapidly approve them all, and I will invite many more to come to the fore.
This is going to build thousands or create thousands of jobs for people in British Columbia and Indigenous people, and really help Indigenous communities. This is incredible. Incredible. Like, if you're in British Columbia and you're on the fence of who to vote for, I mean, it's so clear now. It's so clear. British Columbia has a real potential of being an oil and gas powerhouse. And it wouldn't just be Alberta anymore. It would also be British Columbia. That's two provinces. Heavy dominating the sector on the global stage. Like that would be incredible. Incredible. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited just listening and talking about this. I want to like snap my fingers and fast forward to this reality because I hope it becomes true. I hope that we get enough votes for this guy and for these projects to really go forward because British Columbia desperately needs it. Canada, never mind BC, Canada desperately needs it.
It's time to put Canada first for a change. That means partnering with First Nations, approving projects, expanding ports, building pipelines, digging mines, axing taxes, and getting it done.
Oh, my goodness.
For a change. Thank you.
I got goosebumps, man.
We will now go to questions. Please.
I've got literal goosebumps just hearing about this. It makes me so excited and so proud to live in this province should we go down this path. Like, how can you listen to this and say, nah, I want to vote for the other guys that are constantly being affected by, Chinese interference and that launder their own money to pocket themselves and get themselves rich? I mean, this is incredible. We have a real opportunity at changing Canada as we know it for the better, evolving into the next step. Right. And we're so behind. We're literally so behind. We're barely I know we're a first world country, but our infrastructure is so outdated. We need so much more money. And the only way we're going to get it is by doing stuff like this. We can't just invent money. And obviously adding extra taxes is not going to be sustainable. It's driving the poverty line to new highs. Right. Used to be what? You made $100,000 back in 2010. And it's like, wow, man, that was incredible money, right? 50, 60,000 was, average, right? It was like a good paying job, but $100,000 was like, man, that family's rich. They got a couple of great cars, 4 or 5 bedroom castle that they live in. Incredible. And now we're overinflated. We're overinflated. And, $100,000 now gets you what $50,000 did in 2010. It's just not sustainable to go about this way. So we need more money as a country. And there's only one way to do it. And it's going to be this way. That's the only way moving forward.
Name and outlet.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chuck Chang with the Canadian Press. Mr. Poilievre, how quickly do you think these fast-track programs can go ahead, considering that there's also provincial and municipal jurisdiction? And are you confident that the proper environmental and First Nation Indigenous consultations on these projects have been done in order to facilitate these fast tracks? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your question. I didn't get your name.
Chuck Chang, Canadian
Chuck.
Press.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. Yes, a very important question. My goal is to bring First Nations, municipalities, and provinces all under the same tent. Let's sit down and put together the checklist of all the things we need to approve, put it in one office that is accountable to all levels of government, and let the company then apply to the project right there. I'm convinced we can get these projects approved in as little as 6 months.
Yeah. So this is a very controversial point for Canada. Canada has followed, I think it's Australia's way of treating Indigenous people. And so when it comes to big plants like this and big projects like this and the pipeline, it's never being built because Indigenous communities are requesting royalties for those projects. And there's always these back and forth negotiations. So when it comes to stuff like this and getting these projects done, they never get done because the government can never really agree on how much to pay Indigenous people and communities their fair share of royalties. And the controversial part is not necessarily how much money goes towards Indigenous communities for the royalties, but it's the fact that we're still doing it, right? I think it's over $3 trillion has been paid to Indigenous communities through the reconciliation funds and stuff like that. And it's just, it's kind of bleeding us dry a little bit, right? At what point do we say, okay, how much more money are we doing? And so when it comes to this, when you're talking about fast tracking something like this, the royalties that are involved, you almost need to just override it. It sounds crazy to ignore what they want, but you need to almost just override it to get it done. And the Liberals have not ever been able to do that. That's just some Indigenous communities. Most Indigenous communities love these projects. It's only a minority of Indigenous councils who don't actually want the development, and there's always the back and forth negotiations for those types of royalties. And the media only shows the minority. But most Indigenous communities, like I believe where Pierre Poilievre is speaking from in Terrace, BC, they absolutely love oil and gas because it brings more jobs, it brings more money into the communities, and they're not as stingy when it comes to the negotiations of how much royalties. They just want the jobs. They want the communities to prosper, because when you talk about poverty in certain minority groups, Indigenous communities are disproportionately affected, right? That's why it's just a fact. And so bringing big jobs like this to those communities, it's a win-win for everybody. And I mean, the Liberals have never really been able to properly navigate this. They just always get stuck on, again, the paralysis through analysis of everything and the negotiation. So this is a really phenomenal step forward for our government and for the production of oil and gas sector. Is just 6 months tops. Figure it out, get it done, let's go. It's giving your guys' communities jobs. Let's move forward with this. And so it's definitely going to be controversial when it comes to those types of negotiations and how the left media is going to spin it, but it needs to be done. It needs to be done. And this is good. It's a win-win for everybody.
We should be able to. That's what they do in other countries. Let me give you an example. In Germany, they built an LNG import terminal from concept to completion in 178 days. That's not the approval process. That was approval and construction. That's how things happen in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
We're in Canada, we're not even, we're in a parallel universe here where it takes 14, 15 years to go through the bureaucracy. In the rest of the world, things are getting done in months, not years. And that's what we're going to have to do. We need to move at the speed of business to bring our jobs home and become self-reliant, because after the lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime and a falling economy under America's thumb, we can't afford a Liberal fourth term. We need a new Conservative government that will green-light projects, axe taxes, and bring our jobs home for a change.
En français.
Man, the way he talks about this is just phenomenal. We need to move at the speed of business. And that's something that Canada has not ever been able to do. And I'm sure you've noticed this, not just with LNG plants, but with, construction of apartments and condos and housing. We don't move fast. And a lot of that is because of just all the bureaucracy, all the red tape, all the environmental standards, and how they're always shifting under Liberals. And it's phenomenal to hear that finally we might be moving towards an economy and a period in time in Canada where we just get shit done, man. We're so far back. Japan can build a skyscraper in like months. We can't even build a sandbox or a playground for kids within a certain season, right? Talk about spring, summer, or fall. We can't even do that in a town. It takes like a year for a freaking kids playground to be built in Canada, right? Like, it's nuts. It's freaking nuts. I know that's small potatoes municipal level, but it just goes to show that we just don't get stuff done in this country, right? So finally, we're moving towards getting stuff done. Oh, man. Oh my goodness. It's gonna be great for the trades. If you are in school, or if you're an older person, you got kids or grandkids that are gonna be in school, man, it's gonna pay off to be in the trades. Absolutely. Trade schools it's gonna be the new tech sector, right? Working your way up in the trades into a managerial position, you're gonna be making hundreds of thousands of dollars with benefits. It's gonna be so freaking good for our country and for our economy.
Rob Shaw from Czech News. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre. I'm sure, as you know, a big question about Phase 2 of LNG Canada is whether it should be forced to run on electricity to reduce pollution. And I take it, based on what you're saying today about your sort of pre-approval, you would not require electrification and it could just go ahead and run on natural gas. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes. And to be clear, Mr. Shaw, the project will not go ahead if it cannot run on natural gas. It won't happen. So when the Liberals say that they're going to ban LNG Canada from using gas to power the plant, what they're saying is the plant will not be allowed to happen. And let's be very clear. If the Liberals are reelected, this expansion will not occur for 4 reasons. 1, the energy cap that they are imposing makes it impossible. And you can ask the company about that. You don't have to take my word for it. 2, the industrial carbon tax. The only way LNG Canada #1 went ahead is because it had a carbon tax exemption. 3, C-69, which will mean that it's 10 years of bureaucracy and hearings and back and forth that no company is going to waste millions and billions of dollars on. And 4, Liberals want to insist that it run on electricity and not on gas. That makes it impossible to finance. So for 4 reasons, there is no way the Liberals will ever allow this to happen. If you want energy independence, if you want these monstrous, big, beautiful projects to go ahead, you are going to need a change in government with a Canada First Conservative Prime Minister.
En français.
Yeah. No, he's absolutely right. The more Pierre's been talking and campaigning during this election, the more he's making sense. Not that he ever didn't make sense, but it's getting me so excited to be Canadian again. And I'm not even in the trades, man. I don't know how any of this stuff works. I don't know how to build these things, but it makes me so excited for future generations. I've got kids. I want to see our country prosper. I don't want to leave Canada. I know people have been thinking about leaving. I know people are like on the fence if Carney wins, if we're still with the Liberal government, people are going to want to dip out. I get that sentiment, but I don't want to get there. I don't want to allow my brain to go there. I want to have hope in the future of Canada. And if this man becomes prime minister and follows through with even half of these promises, Canada's going to go back to being such a beautiful country. Better than ever, man. Better than ever. I'm so excited.
Your next question is from Tom Fletcher from Northern Beat. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Canada is a little late to the party for LNG. We're behind Australia, Qatar, Indonesia, Malaysia.
That is a good point.
USA now. Can Canada still compete for more LNG on the West Coast or even on the East Coast?
Thank you, Mark Carney. Thank you, Justin Trudeau. Those two said there was no business case for LNG over the last decade. And as you correctly point out, all the other countries knew better. And in the state during the time when the last lost Liberal decade, where Carney and Trudeau were blocking these projects here, we saw 8 new plants go up in the States. Qatar doubled its production and signed supply agreements with France. We've seen other countries unleash their natural gas potential. I understand now Alaska is looking at exporting LNG.
Oh, my goodness.
So you're right. That is the lost Liberal decade. But no, we're not too late. There's still going to be massive demand for LNG because it is one of the cheapest and cleanest ways to power an electrical grid without coal. And so if we move now, if we reject a 4th Liberal term and elect a new Conservative government that will rapidly approve major projects like LNG Canada Part 2, LNG Quebec, and others, then we can get our gas to the world. We have huge advantages over the Americans. It takes 11 days to ship to Asia from BC. It takes 20 days to ship from the U.S. Gulf Coast. We have cold weather. It's nice and crisp out here today. That reduces the cost of liquefaction by 25%. Well, how do you liquefy a gas? You cool it down. We've already got a natural cooling system. It's called our climate. And also, we have abundant energy to power that liquefaction. So we have enormous advantages over the Americans, the Qataris, and countless others. We just need to get this Liberal government out of the way and elect a new Conservative government that will get it done for a change.
En français.
Man, our energy sector, like Canada doesn't have that many good sectors that are profitable. One thing that, like, when you look at the stock market and what to invest in, it basically, if I'm not mistaken, it comes down to two. It's our finance, right? The big banks, RBC, Nova Scotia, TD, CIBC, even though they're over leveraged, all that stuff, right? And then there's also our energy sector, Suncor, Enbridge, Whitecap Resources, gas, oil and gas sector, and stuff like that. And if we actually go through with the Conservative government, oh my goodness, man, everybody's portfolio in Canada that's invested in the energy sector is going to skyrocket. We are going to be so rich. Even if we are late to the party, we have so much. We have so much, and we've got countries that are lined up. We've got countries that are begging for what we have to offer. Oh my goodness. It's going to be so freaking good. Relationship with America is going to be healed. We're going to have new relationships with like Japan, and we're going to send them some oil and gas and stuff like that. Oh man. It's going to be a real powerhouse economy in Canada. And I'm so excited. It might take a little bit of time to get there, but once we actually get boots, not suits, or whatever the slogan is, right? Once we actually get to shovels in the ground, whoo-wee. And then all the TFSA top up that he mentioned, like everything is complementing one another, reinvesting, incentivizing Canadians to reinvest into the Canadian sector. So the average investor, like yourself, like myself, want to make money. Okay, there's tax benefits to investing in the American market and a TFSA and RSP, and specifically RSP for dividends, stuff like that, right? But investing in Canada and having your money make more money here in Canada, if we go under a Conservative government, man, we're all going to make so much money. We're all going to make so much money, not just on the markets with investments, but our kids, or if you're in the trades, you are going to greatly benefit from it. We're going to have so many houses being built. It's going to go back to being white picket fence, the Canadian dream, whatever that looks like. It's going to be incredible. I'm genuinely so excited. I'm so excited. I might even cry when Pierre wins. It's just so exciting. The future, the possibilities, they almost seem endless. We all know there's so much money to be made in oil and gas, right? You go up north, you go to Fort Mac, you see all that stuff. A lot of those people, they got lots of money. And finally, Canada will be, as a whole, will be, especially the provinces of Alberta and BC, we're just going to be winning, and it's going to feel so good.
Thank you.
That, ladies and gentlemen, concludes Pierre Poilievre's oil and gas announcement for British Columbia. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to slap a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's see if we can get to 500,000 before the end of the election, and I look forward to seeing you all in another video. Bye for now.